A good digital citizen uses technology appropriately and responsibly. The theme I have chosen for my digital citizenship project is plagiarism. First, let's take a look at the definition of plagiarism. Dictionary.com defines plagiarism as an act or instance of using or closely imitating the language and thoughts of another author without authorization and the representation of that author's work as one's own, as by not crediting the original author, and a piece of writing or other work reflecting such unauthorized use or imitation. So what does that mean? Plagiarism is to steal and pass off the words or ideas of another as if it was your own idea. It's using someone else's work and not crediting them as the original author. It is in fact stealing. It is an act of fraud. Plagiarism is using someone else's work, someone else's concepts, someone else's ideas, someone else's writings, and then passing them off as if they were your own. Examples of plagiarism can be copying from another student. It can be turning in someone else's work as your own. It can be copying words or ideas from someone else without giving them credit. It can be copying the words or images from a website. It can also be cutting and pasting pictures. It can be copying and pasting video, music, and software. It can be turning in someone else's work and you simply putting your name on it. It can be failing to put a quotation in quotation marks. It can be giving incorrect information about the source of a quotation. All these are examples of plagiarism. So let's think of it this way. If you didn't come up with the idea yourself, if the idea or the writing is not original to you, then it doesn't belong to you. And if you're using it without permission or not giving the original creator credit, then you are stealing. Plagiarism is an act of fraud and it is against the law. How can you avoid plagiarism? You can avoid plagiarism by listing or citing your sources. Teachers have different rules on how you list sources. Sometimes you provide a list at the end of a report, and at other times a teacher might want you to list the source immediately after the information you took from that source. Just be sure you know where your information came from. If you don't identify the original source, you are committing plagiarism. CommonSenseMedia.org defines a proper citation as a formal note of credit to an author that includes their name, date published, and where you found the information. To be on the safe side and avoid plagiarism, it's important to cite your sources. Cite it right. List all sources that you used. This includes author's name, page numbers, date, etc. Use quotation marks around all words and phrases copied from a source and then cite that source. If you put the information into your own words, paraphrased, you still must cite the original source. If the idea is not your own, give the creator his or her due. When borrowing another person's ideas, acknowledge their origin. Internet sources also must be acknowledged. Do not paraphrase another writer's words and then try to pass them off as your own. If you borrow someone else's ideas, if you use someone else's words, you must give them a complete reference. And there are different standards to cite your sources. Remember, a citation should include all the information that will be necessary for someone else to locate the source. This includes author, title, issue information, date. I've included some guides to help you cite correctly. Whether you're using APA or MLA format, you can refer to the following websites. So when is it not necessary to give credit or cite a source? When you're using common knowledge. Common knowledge is considered something that everyone knows, so no citation would be necessary. An example of this would be water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. It wouldn't be necessary to cite a source for this particular example. Also, it's not necessary to cite a source when you are using generally accepted facts. A generally accepted fact would be something such as pollution is bad for the environment. Another example, when you do not have to cite a source, is when you are writing your own thoughts, observations, or insights. Because these are original to you, you don't have to cite a source. You are the original author. You also don't have to cite a source when you are using your own photographs, your own artwork, your own video, or your own music. You also don't need to cite a source when you're writing results obtained from your own lab or field experiments. So here's the bottom line. Purdue University's online writing lab suggests to document any words, ideas, or other productions that originate somewhere outside of you. Copying someone else's work and calling it your own is plagiarism. Copying information from a website and saying you wrote it is stealing. To avoid plagiarism, it's important to give credit and cite your sources. Other people need to be able to find the sources you used. Citing work shows respect for other people's hard work. Don't take someone else's words and try to pass them off as your own. And last, I will now cite my sources.